Welcome to the Third Win channel. Here we do reviews for the iCarly Reboot, and today it is time for episode 4. And by the way, I'd recommend starting with the reviews for the first 3 episodes if you have not seen them already. Finally, a spoiler warning, pause now if you have not seen episode 4. Episode 4 is called I Got Your Back, and the synopsis reads, after enlisting Harper's help for a red carpet event, Carly starts to doubt that Harper understands her best interests and questions their friendship. Meanwhile, Spencer goes to extraordinary lengths to get Freddie his first post-divorce date. Now let me briefly cover the event timeline of this episode. Spencer and Freddie are chilling with some hot beers, and a delivery girl at the door hits on Freddie. Freddie then scares her away. He's not interested. Spencer decides it's time to help Freddie get a date. Later, Freddie leaves Millicent with Carly and Harper for what seems like about a week, and she watches Real Housewives of Wisconsin and insults Carly. Carly gets invited to a red carpet event, decides to go to make a statement towards her ex, and Harper becomes Carly's stylist, and this causes a minor fight between them, especially after Harper sets up Carly with a dumb guy. Spencer buys Freddie a very expensive escort who he goes on several dates with, but eventually breaks up with, relieving Spencer of thousands more dollars because he was paying for the escort without Freddie knowing. And Harper and Carly in the end make up after Carly consults Spencer, and the red carpet goes kind of wrong with Carly wearing the wrong dress. Now that we've refreshed our memories on the events of this episode, let's talk about our characters. First up, Carly Shay. Carly is still not over her ex, Beau, wanting to make a statement at the red carpet event. She decides to work together with Harper, an aspiring stylist, to achieve this. In the process, we get to know how the two BFFSS, best friends since Sam, met, which was at Skybucks, with a shared interest in Real Housewives of Wisconsin. Harper, as dubbed in this episode, get into a fight about the dresses and a date Harper set Carly up with, but it's short-lived as they realize neither of them are entirely right. Carly also finds out that her type since the original show has always been the hot dumb guy in quotation marks. As a side note, Freddie also mentions to Millicent that Carly is a good role model for her, noting that she is strong. This episode also reveals that Carly lives in apartment 8E, or at least this is the first time I have noticed this, which is right next to Freddie's apartment 8D. Next, let's talk about Benson. Freddie Benson. Freddie has his first date since his last divorce, which Spencer sets him up with. He is very turned down by sciencey girls, and he thinks he has met one, but it's just an escort Spencer has hired. Oof. Perhaps a callback to the episode where the girls call Freddie gullible. Surprisingly, he breaks up with the escort, and he does not find out about her arrangement with Spencer. This whole situation seems to, however, have a positive outcome on Freddie, as he's feeling more confident and ready to date again. Next, speaking of, Spencer Shay. Spencer offers support to both Carly and Freddie, only one of the two costs him thousands of dollars. Spencer gives Freddie confidence by hiring someone to go out with him, and helps Carly realize that her friend is also not in the wrong, and tells Carly that she's always been into the quote-unquote dumb guy, the hot dumb guy. Following up, we got Harper. Harper takes on her passion of being a stylist, while again supporting Carly in her issues. She also sets up the date for Carly with a hot dumb guy who's called Tristan, and also mentioned this was not one of her man-me-downs, which is something Carly mentions. We also find out that it seems like she does not own the apartment, but rather she moved in after becoming friends with Carly. We also find out that she uses Spencer's credit card, which she guessed the security code for. Lastly, and briefly, Millicent. Millicent spends some girl time with Carly and Harper, learning about a show that she eventually binges called Real Housewives of Wisconsin. She also hints towards Carly and Harper being boomers, as well as making passing comments about the craziness that happens at Carly's apartment in this episode. We have also a few other minor characters like Tristan and quote-unquote Ramona in this episode, but I'm positive we'll never see them again, so I think I've mentioned enough about them. But now let's move on to other mentions and Easter eggs. At the very beginning of the episode, we get a callback to a Nickelodeon actress that was on Ned's Declassified, Michelle Kim, a fun little cameo. We also get a brand new mention of Sam, where Carly in a way references her to still be her best friend, which makes sense. Another big Easter egg in this episode is the dress that was originally used in I Goodbye. It was the dress she wore for the father-daughter dance. Very cool how they used it again. The episode also references Carly's dating history, where she commonly will gravitate towards attractive airheads. The only exception I can think of was the episode where she dates the genius in the original series. But that's it for our Easter eggs, and now let's move on to the last portion of this video, analysis and takeaways. First, I'd like to talk about Spencer, who is once again being dishonest in the revival. Knowing that Freddie has trust issues and some troubled relationships, it seems very inappropriate to set him up with a fake relationship. If Freddie found out, he could draw a line, and Spencer could risk losing Freddie's trust or friendship. Solving problems with money is also an interesting dynamic, not necessarily a bad one. It is done quite well, for example, in Zoey 101 with Logan Reese, another originally Nickelodeon series. It is nice, however, to see that Freddie has regained his confidence, and maybe he will finally stop waving off girls like we've seen him do in the last few episodes. This episode feels like it might be inspired by the episode of the original iCarly series where Sam and Carly, or really several episodes where they get into fights, but always make up in the end. In conclusion, I think this episode was just okay, with my biggest complaint being how unlikable some of the characters can be at times, in comparison really to the original show, with unnoticed lying or using someone else's money behind their back, or maybe it's this unnatural conversations that we always get that they're trying a little too hard to crack a joke at the end of every sentence. I do, however, appreciate that the writers are respecting and keeping the consistency with the original show, and I'm excited to see what they'll do with the characters with every episode and how they'll grow with every episode, so I'm still very much excited for that. But that's it for this episode review. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below, and check out our 3 previous episode reviews if you have not already. We release these weekly, so stay tuned by subscribing for next week's episode review of episode 5. This has been the Third Win channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.